Eating healthy is so expensive, is what someone would say if they were operating under three incorrect assumptions about shopping for healthy foods. So, is it actually possible to eat healthy on a budget without compromises? Let's talk about that. Hi, I'm Pierce Whitley, your integrative health practitioner, bringing you weekly inspiration to help you pull up your health issues by the root. As we cultivate balance in our bodies, our soil will become inhospitable to symptoms. Welcome to Vitally Balanced. The first assumption that a lot of people operate under is that they need to just replace all of the unhealthy snack foods in their diet with healthy versions of those snack foods at a 1-to-1 ratio. The problem is that when you do this, you're not, first of all, really making your diet that much healthier. And second of all, it's going to cost you a lot of money because things like healthy crackers or healthy beef sticks instead of, the normal beef jerky, healthy chocolate is going to cost a lot more than the unhealthy counterparts. And if you continue to consume those healthy snack foods at the same frequency with which you consume your unhealthy snack foods, then you're going to end up running up your credit card immensely. That is going to contribute to a large part of your grocery bill. And the truth is that in order to eat healthy, we don't just need to replace all of the unhealthy foods with healthy versions of those foods. We actually need to change the types of foods that we're eating, reducing the amount of snack foods. And sure, I buy healthier, sugar-free chocolate on occasion, keto chocolate. I buy healthy seed crackers on occasion, healthier seed crackers, but that doesn't mean it constitutes a large majority of my diet. The large majority of my diet is actually whole foods, fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, nuts and seeds, things like that. And so while these healthy snack foods do taste good, they are very expensive and they aren't really as healthy as they seem. And then we have another subcategory of buying, these fake healthy foods, these healthy snack foods. And those are the healthy convenience foods. For example, I'm talking about things like protein powder or, beef sticks. Protein powder is very convenient. Beef sticks are very convenient. You can throw them in your bag. You can bring them to school, to work. If you're needing to travel, they're very convenient. But if you are on a tight budget, then you should probably stick to actual proteins, actual meat, actual eggs, actual beans, and things like that for your protein sources. They're going to be a lot cheaper for the calories you're getting, and it's going to last you just a lot longer. You're going to be saving a lot of money. And that might sound hard to some people to really cut down on the amount of snack foods and convenience foods that they're eating instead of just switching over to like healthier versions of them. And it doesn't need to happen all at once, but it is something to remember that if you're just trying to eat these healthy snack foods or convenience foods, it is going to be very expensive. The second misconception that a lot of people operate under is that you need to buy everything organic. Before we dive deeper into this misconception, let's talk about what organic actually is for a refresher for those of us who know, and for those of us that aren't quite sure what it means, this will just be a brief overview. So organic is a certification given by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and essentially, just to be very basic about it, it means that certain harmful pesticides aren't allowed to be sprayed directly on certified organic crops. It also means that those crops aren't allowed to be genetically modified in any way, which is usually done to help those crops withstand pesticides or herbicides or desiccants like glyphosate. And for animals, it means that they have to be fed organic feed if they are fed feed, and that can be a problem of its own. Essentially, it just means get rid of the pesticides, get rid of the herbicides, get rid of any antibiotics that would be given to animals, etc. And it also has been shown that organic foods have a higher level of nutrients than conventional foods do, but that's more of a minor focus for why we would prioritize buying organic foods, because different items of produce actually have different levels of pesticide residues that have been found on them. So for example, case in point, avocados are and have been for the past many, many years the very lowest detectable pesticide residue of any piece of produce. And that means that if you're on a tight budget, you should pretty much always buy conventional avocados as opposed to organic avocados, because organic avocados do cost a good amount more, but don't really provide much of a benefit as far as avoiding toxins goes. And a better recommendation would be to put that organic avocado money towards other more important things in your health priorities. Now, that's not to say that buying organic avocados is bad, especially for people that are incredibly well off. Supporting organic farmers and getting a little bit more nutrient rich of produce is never a bad thing, but it is more expensive. And when the budget is tight, it's important to realize which pieces of produce it's important to buy organic. And so you might be asking, well, how the heck am I supposed to know what produce I'm supposed to buy organic and what produce I'm not supposed to? You might have heard of a nonprofit called the Environmental Working Group, or the EWG. And on their website, they have a ton of amazing resources that they give. One of them is are two lists. They're called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, the shopper's guides to pesticides in produce. The Dirty Dozen list, as it might imply, shows the 12 worst offenders as far as detectable pesticide residues go on your produce, and it's updated yearly. So you can find a new list every year so that we can stay the most up to date. And then the Clean 15, also as it implies, shows the 15 cleanest fruits and vegetables that you don't really need to worry about buying organic versions of. And they also have a full list that I will link in the description that goes deeper than just the Dirty Dozen or the Clean 15, and shows exactly where each piece of fruit or each vegetable lines up on the hierarchy of toxic pesticides. So the next time that you're going to the store and you need to figure out what to buy organic and where to save a little bit of money, I would consult the list. And if it's on the Clean 15, you're pretty safe to buy it conventional. If it's on the Dirty Dozen, I would hedge toward organic. One more important thing to note, not all non-organic food or conventional food is actually made using these pesticides and herbicides and antibiotics for animals, of course. There are a lot of small farms that simply don't have the money needed to get their organic certification. And so if you're going to a farmer's market, you can just ask your farmers about the practices that they use for growing produce or raising their animals, and really ask them, do you use herbicides, conventional herbicides? Do you use conventional pesticides? Are you giving these cows antibiotics? Are you giving them feed, or are they grazing on the grass? Are the chickens kept in a giant warehouse, or are they actually out on the pasture? And even if these small farmers don't have the organic certifications, if you trust them and you find out about the practices they use, then you don't have to have the organic label on it. In general, it's better to just start eating produce rather than processed foods, even if you can't afford a lot of organic foods to start off with. And the fourth misconception that people are operating under is that only the trendy brands that they see influencers using are the healthy versions of those foods. Personally, I'm a big fan of store brands as long as I look at their ingredients lists and see that they're actually very well made with healthy ingredients. For example, if you need to buy some diced canned tomatoes to make some chili, I would take a look at the store brand versus the supposed like popular healthy brand and see and compare the ingredients. And if they're not really different, then you might want to go with the store brand. I buy the store brand for a lot of different things simply because there's no difference from the name brand. Now, sometimes the name brand does taste a lot better, and in that case, you'll have to weigh the cost. But trendy brands are not always necessary, and if at all possible, you should actually look to the cheapest brand that's still organic and uses good ingredients. And a lot of times that's the store brand, and a lot of times it's the exact same product, just in a different packaging. So we just covered the three misconceptions that I was talking about at the beginning, but there is one more tip that I would give to anyone trying to eat more healthy, and that is to buy bulky things. And when I mean bulky things, I don't just mean to buy in bulk, although that is helpful, but it's also helpful to realize which vegetables and things like that provide you a lot of food for not a lot of price. When you're thinking about things like that, we're thinking about cabbage or sweet potatoes or regular potatoes. things that provide you a lot of mass, a lot of bulk to your meal without actually costing a lot. And especially when you're tight on a budget. I remember I was watching an influencer a couple of years ago do a snap challenge where he was going to only buy groceries that week on a $50 snap stamp budget, which is essentially a food security program that the government runs that allows you to get food at a grocery store if you don't have an income that is sustainable for yourself. And he did, I think, $50 for this week of food. And something that I realized that he emphasized is a lot of the price that is concentrated in our food is actually concentrated in the smaller portions of our meals, the sauces, the seasonings, and those are very important things. And especially in the treats and the snack foods that we buy. But really, the bulk of our meals are made up of relatively inexpensive ingredients for the amount of mass that you're getting. So make sure to buy substantial food that's not going to wilt down to nothing. It's great to buy some greens, but if you want a substantial meal and you're balling on a budget, it's important to also go for some things that are going to make up some bulk. Remember that eating healthy is a journey. It's not an event. It's not a one-time thing where suddenly you flip a switch. You now know exactly how to shop for and cook healthy food. So be patient with yourself as you're making a transition. But as for practical applications from this podcast, because I always want to make everything applicable. First, cut down on the fake healthy snack foods that you're buying. Second, take a look at the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists and prioritize which pieces of produce you should be buying organic. And third, don't always just go with the trendy brands. You can buy store brand as long as you evaluate the ingredients and make sure they're using quality ingredients in their products as well. I hope this podcast was helpful for y'all. I know it was a bit of a shorter one, but I don't like just adding fluff to things to make it longer or to pad out the runtime. I want to be able to deliver actionable information to you in a concise way that fits into your day and that fits into your life. So if you did enjoy this podcast or if you found it helpful, make sure to share it with friends or a family member that need this information right now. And as always, I will see y'all next week on another episode of Vitally Balanced.